This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler and Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
Good morning, everyone. I want you to imagine as a young single person or an older single person having a personal matchmaker to find your ideal match, having a personal assistant to schedule your first date based on your restaurant preferences and availability, and having a date coach to provide you advice before your date and feedback after your date. That's what we do at Instimate. Instimate is a new online dating experience that provides intelligent matchmaking, automated date scheduling, unprecedented safety and security features, as well as in-app coaching. So what we do for our users, we provide an end-to-end complete experience that takes them from finding their ideal match to scheduling their date to helping them be a better dater in general. What we do for businesses on the other side is to make it so that rather than paying for, if you're a restaurant, brewery, bar, rather than paying for ad views and ad clicks, you're actually paying to put people in your restaurant, in your venue. So rather than paying per click or per view, you're paying to put butts in seats. So you're getting a much higher ROI, at a much lower cost, and it's within your actual target market in your area. We are actually live in the marketplace today in the iOS store here in Charlotte. We have about 500 users from our soft launch just from word of mouth alone. Our next step, we're launching 2.0 next month, and we're going to really hone that in on the Carolinas region, North Carolina and South Carolina. The next step for us is to launch there and then do a greater national launch later this year, as well as expand to Android and web. Right now, I'm seeking $250,000 for this expansion, as well as to integrate some AI tools that are going to help us with the matchmaking and coaching.
So good job. You definitely covered all the bases. I understand what you do. I understand kind of where you are and the evolution. You had your ask. It's an interesting idea. It's kind of a tech-enabled service in a way, right? Which is fine. We like tech-enabled services. You've got some early traction. Tell me a little bit about how your revenue model works, and tell me a little bit about how your cost structure looks today with respect to providing the service to the dater.
So we're a bit unorthodox in terms of our cost structure and how we're earning money in comparison to other dating apps. Other dating apps, what they do is they charge you, usually they're free, or they charge an uptick service. It's like a monthly service. And they charge you upsells within the app. So like you pay if you want someone to see that you like them, or pay for someone to read your message, things like that. We originally started off with having a $5 per month option that gives you unlimited access to everything. So there's a free version and that version. What we're doing now with 2.0 is we're taking away all the cost to the users. So they're getting a full-on experience, and the burden of cost is just being on the advertiser. So as a user, you won't have to pay anything ever. And so we're not earning money from that. In terms of advertising, we're not primarily reliant on ad views and ad clicks within the app. And so what we're doing is, so as you as a restaurant, you want, let's say you're having slow Tuesday nights, slow Thursdays, you can actually pay a certain amount of money. So for example, you can say, okay, well, I have a $500 budget per month. So you can set your limit at $500, and then your per date cost, depending on the type of restaurant or venue you have, is $2 to $5 per date that comes to that place. And when you hit that limit, it stops. And so you can increase that limit as much as you want. And so that's how we earn our money, is through that. And then as a secondary means, we're also going to have traditional advertising within the app, traditional sponsorships, things like that.
So, if I'm a restaurant, how do the economics of working with Instimate, which I sort of want to call Instimate, right? But like, how do the economics work if I'm a restaurant?
So as a restaurant, what you're doing is three different things. So the first thing is you're putting a butt in your seat, right? And so with depending on the type of restaurant you are, in terms of your stars, your number of stars you are, the cost factor, whether it's like a lot of platforms, they show kind of like a $1 sign up to like $4 or $5 signs based on the pricing of the restaurant. And so You think of what the value is to have two people in your restaurant, not just for that date, but if this actually results in a relationship, you're creating a special memory in that place. And so you're also helping people to discover new restaurants. So for example, this is their first time there, they're probably gonna come back if they enjoy their experience. And so there's the immediate value of having that $50 or $100 ticket at your restaurant that one day, but then there's the long-term value of introducing new people to your restaurant. Oh, how they compensate me. Okay, so pretty much what's going to happen is within the platform itself, you can say, okay, well, I'm going to set my limit for $200 or $500 for the month. And then pretty much what happens is every time a date gets scheduled there and that date's actually executed there, then it charges them per one. And so it hits against that limit. So,
Yeah, how much do I pay for a couple?
so it'll vary depending on your restaurant type and market from $2 to $5. So if you're more of like a first class upscale restaurant, you're gonna be paying more on the $5 one, and if it's lower, it's probably around the $2 or $3.
So it's kind of like I haven't been on a date in a long, long time. I haven't.
With
Yeah.
someone other than your wife.
Hey, listen, like I tell her, they're not dates anymore, honey. So, yeah. So. So it seems like this is kind of a novel concept. Like this is sort of like an interesting spin on something a lot of people are doing, right? And it seems like to me, correct me if I'm wrong, but you make money when a couple matches and they go to a restaurant. That's when you make money, correct? Okay. Have you contemplated and you've got this big population of people, right? Have you contemplated the idea of taking your same customers who are the restaurants, right, and inviting the whole population from time to time and saying, hey, look, Thursday is Instimate night at, Joe's Brewery, right? And inviting them all and saying, look, you didn't find a match this week, Chris. But there's going to be a whole lot of people at the bar this Thursday. Come on out, and then because I think I like what you're doing. It feels like the conditions for you to generate revenue are going to be too rare for this to really kind of get a lot of traction from a revenue standpoint. What do you think of that?
I'm actually really glad you brought that up. So we're partnering with a few Charlotte partners right now to actually test this out. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some things at Cork Buzz later this year. This new wine place. They have like wine classes, wine everything over in South Park. Partnering with Bottle Cap Group as well as Escape Tactics. So we're going to try different things. So we're actually able to have different singles events that we push through the actual app itself. And then aside from that, we're still going to have the traditional advertising through the app, so businesses can still advertise their target market through there. And so that's something that's unique. We're going to be the only place that can actually, the only app that can actually tell you how many dates we actually have scheduled. Most apps can only tell you how many matches they made. We can actually tell you how many dates have actually happened. We're also going to be the only ones who can actually make money and revenue off of those dates and give businesses direct 100% ROI. So you put $500 into this app, you're going to get that money's worth because you're going to have guaranteed business from it versus just clicks or views. And so we're definitely going to do those things. And then, like I said, that having those singles events is going to be critical. So we're actually going to be able to drive business those ways as well.
Specifically, I'm thinking there's a great Italian restaurant in South Park that Sarah and I go to on dates with some frequency. And like it's terrific, right? And on Friday you can't get a seat at the bar, and on Wednesday like you could swing a golf club around in there and you're not going to hit anybody. And so like that guy I know that he would say, all right, if you can get people here on Wednesday, tell me what it costs, right? You want to say that?
So I'd like to understand better, again, the cost side of serving, because you talked about a couple features that sound interesting, but they aren't free to provide, right? So you got to do the matchmaking. Hopefully that's algorithmically done and automated. But then this coaching piece, which maybe sounds like it's to come once you get this $250K. And then what's your expectations as to the lifetime value of a customer? Because, I'm just trying to do some math in my head. If a customer is worth kind of $4 a date, right? And I don't know how many dates you expect them to go on your platform before they finally, enter married life or coupledom or whatever you want to call it. But talk, if you can, a little bit more around your assumptions of those things.
So for some of the things we're doing, like the intelligent matchmaking, right now that's powered by a different rules-based engine. So we're asking a bunch of different questions throughout the app to really hone down that with the matchmaking piece. What we're going to be doing eventually is we're going to be adding some AI capabilities to analyze the unstructured data that people input in the system. So being able to have things like their about them section of their profiles, being able to do things like when they we're having a new feature come out where they can actually make posts like almost like a feed within that, so they can see a feed of their matches. So we're going to be able to analyze that, and then when people are going to have soon the option to plug in their social media, that and we can actually analyze all of that stuff in real time and actually help them improve their matching. But then also in terms of the dating coaching, we're going to use that unstructured data analysis to actually analyze the other person's information and your information and figure out where there's some commonalities, where there's some things that you could, like for example, you'll see like a match percentage level with that person, but then you'll also be able to see kind of what are some things you have in common, what are some things you should do or not do. But then also, we're asking people after their dates to offer feedback on the other person, so on the experience itself. And so based on your prior experience and that person's prior experience, we're able to deliver all these things. So it's not a person in the background. Well, originally there was a person in the background, me doing it, but as we've grown and be able to add on features to the app and we get ready to launch 2.0, all this stuff is automated. So this is all going to be rules engines and AI in the background doing this. A little bit more about my background. So I'm the director of marketing at a company called Stratify, which is an AI analytics company. And so we specialize in unstructured data analysis, and I'm going to be plugging into their tool to do a lot of the unstructured data analysis to help fuel those things. And then I forgot the second question that you asked.
Lifetime value of customer.
Okay. Oh yeah, lifetime value of the customer. So what we're finding trend-wise with dating apps is that people usually use them in spurts. And so, for example, they're on an app for maybe a month or 2, 3 months. They meet someone. Things take off. They kind of leave the app alone. They come back later that year or a few years later. And so, if you're looking at the number of dates before they get to that relationship, it could be anywhere from just 1 date to 4 or 5 dates. So you're talking about anywhere from $2 to up to $25 that we'd be getting for that person from like each year. One of the things that we're looking into exploring right now, we're still very, very early on doing the research on this, but a version of the app where it's a couples interface. And so what that would do is as a married couple or in a relationship, you would be able to have you say, okay, we want to have 1 date night a week or 1 date night a month or whatever. It automatically schedule based on your availability where you like to go. And same thing with vacations. You can say, hey, here's our top list of places that we want to go. And from there, we'd be able to say, okay, well, based on our budget where we want to go, it'll automatically tell you, hey, here's your options. You can go to New York for $500 total, round trip, everything, hotel included, or you can go to Miami for the same cost. And so being able to do those things in the app, and then we can continue to learn from people over time, so we continue to get that lifetime value out of it. And if they're ever single again, we still have all that data we can apply to their individual interface. So we're going to know all of our users better than they know themselves.
You were going to another place I was going to go, which is, I think for anybody who's going to date their wife, we're talking about me dating my wife a lot. But for anybody who's going to do that, like, where are we going to have dinner is a problem, right? Like, it's nobody that's a big market you could address. I think to me, what you're doing is really cool, and the way you've positioned it and the way that you built the revenue model right now is too small. And I would encourage you to step back and say, how can I expand the way that I'm going to serve the population I'm going to attract? Because it's sort of a novel concept to give away the dating stuff and let merchants pay you, right? To go attend stuff, right? And I think that could be a nice little flywheel, but the conditions for a bingo are too small for me right now, because it means you have to match with a person and actually go to the restaurant, right? So that's what I would say. Do people want to say things? What do you want? He was eager, yes.
So I love the concept. I like your style of pitching, by the way. I think what you might want to consider is this market of matching dating services is so flooded, but there's a million other markets that need the exact same capability. The number one, I think, I work in the healthcare space, and healthcare people are constantly trying to find a way to connect with each other professionally. So maybe it's the professional connections, maybe it's the relationships for vendor to customer. There's all sorts of opportunities where the exact same feature function could target an alternative market and serve the advertiser value proposition developer.
Thank you. I actually think that's a really great idea. It's something I've talked about at a very, very base level, like being able to integrate that with business services, like people being able to schedule their meetings and things like that. But we haven't explored it too much. But it's good to hear hear that sentiment from you. And then, I think that hearing that kind of gives me that further validation that that's something that we need to explore. We haven't really done too much there.
That has many possible uses, and I would discourage you from zooming in on this use case to build a business right now. Because other people might pay you more and use it more often than the specific markets that this iteration of it attracts. Right? Anybody else? Who else wants to say something? Yeah.
So you heard Chris say something, pain points for married couples. One, when do we go? And two, where do we go? I was at a startup weekend and we did that. We created an idea, never went forward with it, but we went out and did market research, and couples would pay $14 to $20 a month to have a concierge dating service. So know what Chris wants, know what Sue wants, put them together and have this incredible date night. If they need a babysitter, you arrange for a babysitter. If they need to have the dogs walk the dog. Whatever it is, to take it. So A, they have a date, and B, that you've arranged it. So that it works.
Helping the people meet at the place, that's a harder problem than it sounds like. Right? I mean, scheduling coffee with somebody is way too much work, yeah? Right. Yeah. It's a pain in the ass, right? So, there's a lot of places you can do this. We like this idea, don't we?
Yeah.
We like this idea.
Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.